Fortnite's biggest villain just changed everything. Mind games and egos have left people scrambling looking for drop spots 1 week before the grand finals, and at the center of it all is Peterbot. It all starts with FNCS Heat 3. The format is simple. The 10 most consistent teams and the winners from all 5 games secure their spots for the grand finals. And game 1 began with a shocking upset. Peterbot and Poyo ended up getting 1v2'd against a player named LoganBot after Peter had to reboot Poyo. They were taken out pretty early on in the match, and this was pretty much a perfect scenario for Clix and Higgs as they went on to win this game. And with the victory royale, Clix punches his ticket to the FNCS Grand Finals. At least that's what he thought. In the middle of Game 1, the official broadcast abruptly cuts away from the action, announcing that Game 1 will not count.
A lot going on here. We're going to toss it to Zeke real quick for an update. Appreciate you guys. Some of the duos did not make it into that game, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and cancel game 1. We're gonna restart, make sure everyone's in that lobby, and then kick off the competition. So
it turns out 14 players didn't make it into the lobby, so Epic decided to restart the tournaments. The players in the first lobby didn't know it was restarting until after the game ended, and everyone just kept playing as normal, thinking they had a chance to qualify for the grand finals if they had won.
No! Oh my god! No, I pumped him, bro. No, man.
You pump him.
Bro, I didn't know you killed the other one.
You pump him.
Starting the game. Yeah.
They're restarting?
If the game actually counted, Clix and Higgs would have avoided a lot of drama, and this video would be much shorter. Normally, if you win in heats, your games are done and you can't play for the rest of the tournament. So because Clix won game 1, it locked out his ability to queue in again. So as Epic started the next match, Clix and Higgs could not queue in. And of course, Peterbot took this opportunity to troll them by landing at their drop spot at Wonky Land.
Yo, I'm screen sharing the game. What's up? We taking over Wonky Land, boys. Check my screen share. What's up? Wait,
you guys landed Wonky? Yo.
We taking over Wonky. What's good?
What's up, boys? Come here, Paul. Chuck flashing us. Come here, do the game. Come here. Come here.
After an hour and a half of delays, game 1 begins for the 3rd time, and Clix and Higgs are looking strong. All the technical issues are behind them, and Higgs starts racking up kills on heights. Peterbot gets third partied in moving zones and dies in storm. Poyo gets 2 eliminations as a solo and is looking at height for 2 more. Clix trades shots with Poyo, but Higgs holds control of height. And Josh Riley takes out Poyo on the low ground. And the final 3 players are Clix, Higgs, and Clix's old teammate, Iyamzo. Iyamzo gets beamed out of the sky, but he fires back and knocks Higgs. Clix has the health advantage, but the siphon kicks in for Iyamzo. Clix falls into Iyamzo's box with the storm on his back, and the only way out is through Iyamzo's builds. The edit opens up, both shotguns are fired, and Iyamzo survives with 17 HP to claim his spot in the grand finals. Game 2 was much less dramatic. Clix had a bad rotation and got shot out of the sky, leaving Higgs to solo clutch with 47 players alive. He managed to pick up a couple of eliminations, but Peterbot and Poyo caught him off guard and took him out in 16th place. But game 3 is when the real drama begins. Before Clix even touches the ground, the unexpected happens. Clix starts gliding to his usual drop spot at Wonky Land, but then he realizes he's being contested by Peterbot and Poyo. Clix recognizes the skin and knows that his spot in grand finals is on the line, and now he has a decision to make. He may not have known this at the time, but this decision would change everything. Clix and Higgs turn around and retreat to Squibbly Shores. This move put Clix and Higgs in an awkward situation because they're used to being at an uncontested Wonky Land, but now they're forced to land in a POI where they have never practiced.
So we jumped out of the bus, and then I see their skins, and I'm like, wait, dude, let's just go Squibbly. So then we just swerved to Squibbly because we didn't have enough points. Yeah, bro, that's just what happened.
And for Peterbot and Poyo, they get to land uncontested at one of the best POIs on the map. Game 3 continues and feels all too familiar. Clix and Higgs are in moving zones, limited mats, and no extra heals. And once again, Clix is face to face with Poyo and Peterbot and goes down, leaving Higgs to solo clutch. Going into heats, a qualification for Clix and Higgs was a given, but now things are not so certain. Higgs goes down with 11 teams alive, and people are starting to question whether or not Clix will even qualify. Meanwhile, Peterbot and Pollo are sitting comfortably as the most consistent team on the leaderboard. Then the dominoes keep falling. Peterbot was ready to fight Clix head on at Wonkyland, but after seeing him back away from the off-spawn fight, he knew it was his for the taking. Peterbot then announced in the middle of the tournament that he is leaving Squibbly Shores to claim Wonkyland for the grand finals. At this point, Clix could just swap drops and land at Squibbly Shores, but just 10 minutes later, Iyamzo announces that him and Josh Riley are claiming Squibbly Shores for the grand finals. Vino and Curve enter the mix and also say they're going for Squibbly Shores. All the best drops are taken, and Clix and Higgs go into game 4 with nowhere left to turn.
Again.
Where the f are they landing?
They end up picking up the scraps at the Battlewood sign in game 4, but then they go down quickly in 45th place. Meanwhile, Peter and Pollo built out their initials to make a statement for the official broadcast. At this point, they are safely at the top of the leaderboard, so they make it their mission in game number 5 to take down Clix and Higgs. But this time, Clix takes the first shot to kick things off. Both duos are healthy, but Peterbot and Pollo have the loot advantage from Wonkyland. Things are looking even until Clix lands a huge shot on Peterbot, leaving him at 32 HP. But Peterbot fires back with a huge pump to take him down. Peterbot quickly goes down to a third party, and Pollo wins the 50-50 against Higgs to end their tournament. As game 5 was coming to a close, more and more teams were getting closer to overtaking Clix and Higgs on the leaderboard. But even with targets on their back, Clix and Higgs were barely able to hold on to their qualification to grand finals through consistency. It was a huge sigh of relief for the Clix fans, but everyone is still wondering, where is Clix dropping in the grand finals?
I always tell you guys one thing. Whatever happens this weekend, chat, this is my POI. We've been going here for we've literally been going here for 4 months. We've been going here for 4 months. If we're conned, both of us are not winning.
Before the FNCS play-ins, Clix was committed to play major tournaments off stream so he could lock in, but that is all out the window now. The rivalry between the two biggest pros in Fortnite has been brewing for so long, and it all comes down to this. Peterbot is calling his bluff and said he's gonna stream grand finals if Clix does.
If Clix is gonna stream grands, then I'm gonna stream grands. So.
But a lot of pros don't actually believe Peter. By the looks of it, Clix is already using all of his free time to practice fighting off spawn. We saw him playing off stream with Higgs in custom matches less than 24 hours after heats finished. The script couldn't be more perfect going into the FNCS Grand Finals. This is actually the most important FNCS we have ever had. This doesn't just affect Grands, it also affects the Summit LAN event in May. For the first time ever, Fortnite is hosting a LAN where players can qualify straight to globals. And teams from Grand Finals this weekend can qualify to Major 1 Summit. After Peterbot and Pollo shook up the drop map by claiming Wonkyland, every other team was left second guessing their own drops. And with the Summit LAN event in mind, teams at major drop spots are starting to look at drop maps from other regions to reconsider where they should land. We saw some insane drama unfold during Heat 1 on EU as well between Shark and Teeny and Malabuka and Vico. Malabuka and Vico almost didn't qualify to finals through heats, which had a lot of the community shocked. They were keyed by Shark and Teeny in the final match, which caused them to come just short of qualifying. Vico was not happy about the situation. He went into chat and started really letting everyone know how he felt. Luckily for Vico and Malabuka, a player that was ahead of them on the leaderboard was disqualified, which pushed them into being within the top 15 and getting into finals. Vico said that they would be contesting Shark and Teeny at Wonkyland, but Malabuka later posted on Twitter saying, "Seeing fire always ends with getting burned too," and that they would be landing at Frigid Fortress instead. With Vico joking about landing Wonky, several other teams joined in on the joke too, and at one point almost the entire EU Grands lobby was selecting Wonky as their drop spot. Shark and Teeny lost the off-spawn battle at Wonky once in heats against Huddy and Fishy. Huddy and Fishy actually went on to win that game, which secured them qualification, and immediately went on posting that they would still be going Wonky in Grands. This means that Shark and Teeny will for sure be contested by at least one team. Hopefully they can split the POI, but if not, we're going to see some cinematic off-spawn battles. Shark and Teeny were the most consistent team throughout heats when it came to placements and racked up some decent eliminations, so they were able to secure their spot to finals despite not winning. A lot of pros were playing their absolute best during the heats. These are some of the most incredible moments, starting out with one of the most underrated duos. Bucky and Zen were the first team to qualify to finals in North America, which is absolutely huge for this duo. We saw them play 18 Division Cup finals in the offseason, but they never placed higher than 16.
Put some respect on my name. Come on. Give a 5.
Jaws Max
Give them
just
all
subscribed.
5. I needed 1.
Zen is mostly known for being one of the best creative players in the world, so the community didn't really believe that this duo was going to do well. And even though this is Zen's first FNCS, he ends up qualifying for finals in game 1.
2v1.
Nice! Let's go! There's no way! It's so easy! My chair! I just got my chair!
So we're gonna have to keep an eye out for this duo and see how they do. Muzz and Sphinx are known for being one of the top teams in NA, so it was kind of surprising to see them both die to Surge in game 1 of heats. It wasn't looking good for them going to game 3. They only had 16 points at the time and were down to 29th on the leaderboard. Muzz ended up going down, and Sphinx was able to solo clutch all the way to carry the team to a victory royale, securing their spot into finals. It would have been so surprising if this team did not make it through. We saw Marius and iDrop also qualify through to finals, and what makes this team's story insane is Marius was a solo player with 65 players still alive, and he was able to stay alive through the endgame, securing the qualification for his team. Bolts and Acorn accidentally won and secured their placement. Bolts had a crazy solo clutch, and they didn't seem too happy about the win and looked like they wanted more practice in these lobbies.
I did not mean to win, bro.
What do you do?
My bad.
Acorn has won every FNCS Major 1 since Chapter 4, so we'll have to see if he can keep his streak going. And I want to give a special shout out to Enough from the PK Hood, which is my Discord. He qualified with his duo Salt and will be playing in the grand finals as well. There were some solid moments, but of course there were a few unfortunate plays that we saw throughout the heats. Oliver might be one of the unluckiest this season. Game 4 came down to a 1v1 and he was not able to clutch the win. They were still so close to making it, but came up just short. There were a lot of teams that didn't want to win so they could get more practice in and hold their drop spots. This led to some really funny moments where pros were intentionally throwing the end game. Ree and Cooper were about to win on height, and then Ree ended up editing down Cooper and making him fall to his death so they can continue playing and not actually secure the W. And of course, only in Fortnite would you see a POI eliminating pros during a major tournament. The final zones ended up in Sandy Strip with the diamond directly in the center, which can impulse you if you damage it. It pushed several pros back into the storm and caused multiple teams to get wiped out. We also saw a lot of pro players' nerves get the best of them as we watched the heats. There was a team that eliminated themselves with a garage. Other players misplayed their shockwave and fell to their death. One team showed us that wonky wheel isn't as OP for some teams.
Oh my god.
Some teams were getting 1v2'd after making questionable edits.
What the hell? Yo.
And there was a potential win that barely got missed.
I think they do. For the most part, and Cantry, not enough HP, but he turns it around. Jew, one more time. And is that now 1 versus 1? Cantry on the other side of this wall, and Cantry finds it. Cantry's just better. The moment that he...
Preston was in a 1v1 heal off with medkits and a chug jug. Since the other player ran out of heals, Aussie started celebrating Preston and Blake's win.
Blake wins! Yo, the OG's showing up big today, bro. Blake and Bucky, let's...
But Storm Sickness kicked in and killed them faster than they could heal through it. Luckily though, Blake and Preston were still able to qualify to grands through consistency. By the time you're watching this, the last chance qualifier will be finished and we'll have our final 50 teams going into finals. These are the players who made it through the last chance qualifiers. Here are all the teams that will be playing in the grand finals for EU, and here are all the teams that will be dropping in North America. The teams have 2 days of finals where they'll play 6 games each day for a total of 12 games. This might be one of the craziest FNCS finals we'll ever see, and I'll be watching it live on my stream this Saturday and Sunday, so be sure to tune in. Thank you so much for watching.